Hello, everyone. Thanks again for joining me. I'm Don Clayton, your host with FranServe. I'm the Chief Talent Officer at FranServe. We change lives, and this is your Changing Lives webcast. Today, I'm very happy to have with me Alex Sabbagh with Franchise Alley. Alex is a certified franchise consultant at FranServe, and I recently read a post that he put up on social media, and I'm going to get into here in the next little bit called Don't Force It. But first, Alex, tell us a little bit about you all the way in Atlanta, Georgia. Tell us about you, a little bit about your background and why and when you chose to join FranServe as a certified franchise consultant.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for having me, Don. So I've been franchising for almost 11 years now. As you probably know, I was in the staffing and recruiting world in my previous life before getting into franchise development. And I started as a franchise development director for two franchisors in the service space. Been combined for about 8 years with those companies, and it was recruiting franchisees all over the US and Canada, right? And that's how, I fell in love with franchising. Absolutely love it. And then about 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago, I started my franchise consulting business. And man, I got to tell you, I love franchising, and becoming a franchise consultant is one of the best decisions I've ever made, right? Just being able to help people through this journey and becoming entrepreneurs through franchise ownership is just awesome. So yeah, it's almost 3 years now that I'm doing the consulting, and FranServe has been amazing throughout that process.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that. And so it's exciting. You're right. It's absolutely exciting. You come from the recruiting background, and this is very similar. This is really a matchmaking role. And so we take candidates and we work with folks from all over the United States, all over Canada, all over the world for that matter. And we look at their lifestyle preferences, and we look at their demographics, and we look at various other factors. We do an entrepreneurial assessment. And so what we do is we take all of that information and then we utilize our system to come up with options that could best match that individual and their certain situation and so forth. And so you do that personally with Franchise Alley, and you have a lot of experience in working with others and changing lives through franchise ownership. But one of the things that really intrigued me was a post that you put up. And the post read this very short post, and it was really, to me, it resonated because I'm thinking to myself, you know what? This is spot on. And this is what the post said. It said, don't force it. And he said, Alex says, remember trying to force a round peg into a square hole as a kid. Boy, I did that. And I would force it and I would bang it, dude. I had like a hammer and a mallet, and I was banging because I was always trying to go against the rail. I just wanted to bang that thing in there. I'm getting that round peg into that square hole. I don't care what happens. And I eventually got it in, but guess what? I broke. And that's kind of a metaphor thinking, when you force something like that, it can break you. It literally can break you when you force something. And then Alex, you go on to say making impulsive decisions. Ooh, that's a bad word, impulsive, right? So making impulsive decisions can feel the same. Forced and stressful. Wow, those are two words we want to stay away from in franchising, Alex. Forced and stressful. And then you go on to say, as a certified franchise consultant, you help your candidates evaluate options carefully to find the perfect fit for their goals. What sparked you to write that column? What was it about? I'm sure that you have candidates that you have worked with in the past that kind of said, you know what, I need to put this out there. People need to understand that they shouldn't force it.
Yeah, absolutely, Don. Right on. And yeah, I've had that. It hasn't been just once, right? But a few different times I've had that experience with some candidates where, again, we have to, at the end, have that heart to heart, and hey, let's not force things and let's make the right decision. At the end of the day, they're thankful for it. Because as a franchise consultant, right, my role isn't to just sell franchises, right? It's to guide people towards the right opportunity that aligns with their goals, their skills, their lifestyle. Many times people come in with preconceived notions that of what they want, right? But when we dig deeper, we uncover potential challenges they hadn't considered. Maybe they're drawn to a brand or a business because they like it as a customer, right, as a consumer. But the day-to-day operations of that business don't match with their strengths and lifestyle, and maybe they don't know it yet, right? So that's a big part of it. And forcing, to that point about the post, forcing a fit just to make a sell or buy a business, it's or franchise it does a disservice to both the candidate and the franchise system. A bad match, like you were mentioning, bad words there, you lead to frustration, financial strain, um,
Yeah,
stress, failure.
frustration. Yeah,
Exactly. So
frustration, financial pain, stress, family stress, all different types of things. And
huge
that's just
deal.
for the investor. And then you've got the franchisor that's stressed because guess what? A poor performing franchise reflects negatively on their franchise disclosure document that they report every year. So no franchisor wants a poor performing or, God forbid, an unhappy franchisee. So this year, we are at FranServe, Alex, making a strong initiative to represent responsible franchising. And responsible franchising has a lot of components to it. One of those components is making sure that we don't force a situation, that we make sure that the investor is taking their time, that they are reviewing the material, that they're speaking with a certified franchise consultant. Our consultants like you, Alex, have hundreds of hours of training. You guys are highly skilled in making right matches for the person's lifestyle preferences, their demographics, their monetary investment levels, whether they're looking for a work from home or brick and mortar or a part-time or a spare time franchise opportunity, whatever it may be, young in their 20s, just graduating college, or maybe out of high school, or someone in their 40s, 50s, or 60s, or whatever have you, looking for opportunities. But there are so many opportunities, Alex. Tell us a little bit about your experience working with so many different brands, so many different concepts, that when you have a investor come to you, what is it that you have found? You mentioned it that they might have their eyes on one particular brand or two, but how often do you realize that it's the case where that individual investor, they're just like they're dumbfounded by the many options that are actually available, and they realize that maybe, thank God I came to Alex before forcing a decision and going into something that I had no idea all these other options existed.
Yeah, that's a great point, Don. And yeah, we've talked about this, right? Most people, and this happened to me, before I came into franchising, you hear the word franchise and you think Chick-fil-A, Subway, and most people, think it's limited to that. A lot of people don't know about all the other categories and so on. So, it's happened to me where, like you said, I work with someone and they come back and say, "Wow, I had no idea." There were all these industries and categories that also franchised the business and had established brands. And I didn't know this brand was a franchise and so on. So yeah, it happens all the time, right? And it's again going back to what our job is, to ask the right questions and getting to know the individual and building that relationship and trust. And then kind of guiding their personality and strengths and all that, based on that, guiding them in the right direction. um, so I have an example. I know, a couple of years ago, I was working with this really nice guy, and he came in looking for a specific brand, right? And he wanted to buy it yesterday, and he was ready in his mind, and great franchise as well. Like, really qualified guy. It was a great fit in terms of personality, strengths, background, but from a budget standpoint, he didn't have enough liquid capital for the franchise. He could have gotten a loan, which was what he was considering, and then he would have been, again, going through stress and a huge responsibility right off the bat, starting a business that would take some time to ramp up and so on. So I eventually came back and said, "Hey, we had a heart to heart with him and said, you know what, this is what I think we should do. Let's reconnect in 6 months to a year." And finally, he decided to do that. And he waited about a year and came back. And fortunately, the franchise was still available in his area. And he bought the franchise and he had more money and he's doing great. So I think that's a great example, right, of navigating that. And to your point, he came back and said, if it wasn't because of that guidance and you asking the right questions and getting to know me and us having that relationship, I probably would have made a really bad decision.
Alex, that absolutely is what we call it at FranServe a fantastic example because that is an extremely common example. very common where we get those types of individuals that come to us. And what they want, Alex, really is us to affirm their thought process of going into that particular franchise model. When in fact, instead of affirming it, we're actually doing the opposite. And we're having them slow down, relax for a minute. And we're not only changing lives, as this is the Changing Lives webcast, but we're also protecting lives. We're protecting people from making mistakes. And Alex, you're great at doing that. You're a great franchise consultant, certified franchise consultant with Friendster. You've been through amazing hours, countless hours of training and your certification, and you're just a
Thank you.
phenomenal consultant with us. We appreciate all the hard work you put into it and helping people and changing lives. Thank you so much. Hey, if anyone's watching this and they would love to reach out to you and speak to you on becoming a franchisee or a business owner, how can they do that?
Yeah, well, you can always visit our website. It's franchiseally.com, franchiseally.com. My phone number, you can call or text anytime, 470-939-3306. And yeah, would love to connect. Thanks so much for having me, Donna. It's been fun.
Alex Sabbagh with Franchise Ally, and I'm Don Clayton, Chief Talent Officer at FranServe. If you need to get in touch with me or have any questions about FranServe whatsoever, or perhaps becoming a franchise consultant with FranServe, you can reach out to me at connect@franserve.com, connect@franserve.com. Remember, don't force it. Alex, thank you so much for being my guest today. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll talk again real soon.
Thanks, Don. You too. Have a good one.